Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Heartcore Human Design. So we're talking today about Wham! We're going from wah to wham today. I know we had an episode in between, but still, that counts. I feel it should count. And the reason why we're doing Wham is because it's Christmas time. Nearly. At least it's pre-Christmas time. And we decided to do two artists that are going into the Christmas direction. Well, theoretically three, because Wham is a two-man band. But we're also going to be doing another one for next episode. Should we spoil it?
No, leave a cliffhanger. No, that's how they come back.
Okay. See, let the manifestor do the marketing. Today, Wham! And we are first going to do this episode again in the same style as we did the last time we covered, I think it was a celebrity. I don't know who we covered.
We're so good at this.
Yeah, I know. We're fantastic. We're not prepared. Well, we are kind of prepared, but just not in the intro way prepared. We are having Celestina tell us all about their history, and because both Celestina and I, if you're listening to us for the first time, we barely have any idea of any celebrities. So for me, this is going to be super interesting to listen to this history class, and then to dive into their human design, which I'm very, very interested about. So, Celestina, take us away.
To last Christmas? Well, okay, cool. All right, guys, welcome to the 80s. Wham! That's right. Andrew Ridgeley and George Michael, the dynamic duo who brought us the infectious pop hits, the flashy fashion, and the legacy that still resonates today. So grab your neon leg warmers and let's dive in. Oh my god, look at that hair. Yes. As the girl with floofy hair, I can appreciate the 80s floof. So Wham was originally formed in 1981, but the story of how Andrew Ridgeley and George Michael came together started way earlier than that. The two met as teenagers at the Bushy Mead School in Hertfordshire, England, because why not? So many syllables. George Michael, born Georgios Kidisakos Pantiotou, the son of a Greek immigrant and already dreaming of a music career. Oh, look at that smolder. Guys, you really should be watching on YouTube. And Andrew Ridgeley, the charismatic, free-spirited counterpart, was a natural performer, and together they bonded over their love of music and the dream of fame. Not like the other 80s movie, Fame, I wanna live forever. Different kind of fame, but still same kind of fame, you know? The name Wham! Perfectly captured their energetic vibe, and they wanted to create music that was unapologetically fun. And they did. Their first album was called Fantastic. It debuted in '83 and included hits like Young Guns, Go For It, and Club Tropicana. I don't know any of these songs. Do you?
I don't think so. Maybe Club Tropicana, but I would have to listen to it.
Yeah, samesies. But it wasn't until their second album, Make It Big, that they truly became global superstars. So let's talk about the powerhouses behind Wham's success. Truthfully, it was George Michael, which is kind of why he went solo a little bit later. But the duo shared the spotlight. George was the singer, songwriter, and producer. His voice, his knack for the melody, and the ability to tap into universal emotions made Wham's music irresistible, darling. Songs like Careless Whispers. Fun fact, he wrote that at just 17, and that showcased his depth as a musician during that time. And it became one of the most iconic ballads of the 80s and setting the stage for his solo career later on. But Wham, as we know, wasn't all about those ballads. They brought the energy, the color, the fun, the wake me up before we go kind of music, which is super bouncy and kind of just gets stuck in your head like that bubblegummy music. And like we said before, the reason we're doing all of this is because of their holiday hit, Last Christmas. Like, that's that and the other person that we're going to talk about are probably the two most listened to songs that I'm Probably giving a lot away by saying that for the next time. But we're still not going to say the name. Just leave you hanging there, guys. So, beyond the music, Wham was about the style, the attitude, embracing those neon shirts, very 80s gold, all of that Western pop icon. And then they also broke into the Chinese market in 1985, and that was like a cultural exchange that they experienced together. I think the biggest thing that drew you, Miko, to all of this was the philanthropic side that came out of, in particular, George Michael's interactions, like as he became more and more famous. So he used his platform to support different causes that were really close to his heart. During Wham's active years, they participated in Band Aid, which was the charity supergroup behind the hit Do They Know It's Christmas? So that project raised millions of dollars to combat famine in Ethiopia. And even after the group disbanded, George Michael continued his charitable efforts, donating anonymously to causes like AIDS research and children's hospitals. And in 1986, Wham broke up. George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley went their separate ways, and their last concert was in London's Wimbledon Stadium, and their friendship endured. So I think that that's what's really important about this. Like, they were childhood friends. They came together in this beautiful, beautiful way to create music together, have that shared love, shared passion. And Andrew, even after splitting up, like the band, continued to support George through his solo career. So there wasn't a ton on the interpersonal relationships between them, but from what I know externally, I guess you could say, is George Michael was the front man of the group, and Andrew, unfortunately, was kind of not put to the side, but he was kind of on the back burner. And I feel like with boy bands, there's always like the lead dude or two when there's multiple in a boy band, and the few that kind of are very talented on their own, but kind of get tossed to the background within a boy band. I think a lot of that breaks down to not only the like recording company, but also what fans gravitate towards and like how that resonates with people. But yeah, I think that they had a very true and genuine friendship, and then a very true and genuine like business relationship, and it seems to have ended on like a really positive vibe, like continue, you know what I mean? And I feel like oftentimes that doesn't happen because someone's always pissed off that someone's going to leave the band, so it's really beautiful that they were able to maintain their friendship post facto. It's a little bit of Wham history.
Yeah, you see this a lot with same-sex groups, but also sometimes mixed groups of singers where one stands out, as you mentioned. For example, with the Spice Girls, where it was Mel B in the end, or sometimes even if it's mixed groups that people fall in love with each other, and then there's drama that is being created, and yeah. I think it's tough to be together continuously, to always have to go on shows together and on tour. And wow, I can imagine that being difficult, especially as well for a projector, which, yeah, he's a projector. So I like how you didn't look at the human design part and I didn't look at the history part. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. For me, the intrigue was with George Michael. I mean, yes, we wanted to kind of stay in the Christmas theme, but it was also very intriguing to hear about him having charities and having done a lot of charity work. And that, to me, I only listened to their music. I didn't really know anything about them. I watched one documentary of George Michael, and that's when I then found out that after his death, it came out that he was supporting a lot of charities. And also, I think he was gay, right? So it was something that he was such an idol, or someone that so many women wanted to be with. And I think him being gay only came out way down the line. So I think that was also something that was very interesting from this perspective of him being every woman wants him, and then in the end he was not available in that way. And I wonder if there was also something with both of them in that aspect that kind of caused the drift at some point. I don't know the sexual orientation of Andrew Ridgeley. Yeah, I think. So yeah, let's take a look at their human design chart. We have the exact birth time for George Michael. Well, more or less exact. It says 6 a.m. So when it comes to a round number like that, I'm always a bit skeptical. But we don't have an exact birth time for Andrew Ridgeley. We don't have any kind of time for him. So throughout the day, I was kind of looking at midday. And then I was looking a few hours before, a few hours after. And most sources go by the midday one. So here we see George Michael. And here we see Andrew Ridgeley. And as you can see, that George Michael is a manifester and Andrew Ridgeley is a projector. So I want to look at Celestina's face right now. Because, yeah, it's a very interesting combination to having two non-sacral beings come together. And also the way that you shared this one clip with me, which I'm pretty sure we're not able to add to this YouTube video, sadly, because of copyright. So we would also love to have Last Christmas playing in the background somewhere to really get the Christmas spirit flowing. But we can't do that either. So unless we pay a ton of money to whoever owns these rights. Celestina's shaking her head wildly. Yes, we are not doing that. We have two non-sacral beings, and the clip that Celestina shared with me was really a beautiful way of George Michael expressing himself, where he was singing a song. It was not Last Christmas, it was another one, but he was singing this song, and then there was one part where he didn't feel as comfortable. He was going into his head voice, and he wanted to stay in the deeper, full-bodied voice. So he recommended a different way of singing it. And I just found the way that he was expressing this desire, he was very beautiful in saying it. Instead of saying, yeah, I can't do this, he was, and I can't make this work or something like that. He was saying, maybe we should try it this way. And then he hummed or he chanted, he sang the way that he felt was best for him, because that would bring out my full-bodied voice. And if we could maybe adapt that would be great. So this is how he was speaking to the producer or maybe the person that was doing the, what is it called?
I think it would be the producer. I think you're right. Cool.
So yeah, he was sharing and expressing himself in a very nice way. So I appreciated that a lot from him. But let's move on and take a look at the human design of both of them together as well. Because this is, for Wham, I decided that this was going to be the way to go. Just a very short insight into George Michael as a 6-2 manifestor. So, Celestina, we're getting closer and closer to to your beingness. But he has 2 channels, as you can see if you're watching. And he has got the 3536 channel and he's got the 2551 channel. And this makes him into a very experimental, like he wants to try out new things all the time. But he can be very shocking in his ways of being. And when we're going to be looking at the 2 together, you can see that there are a lot of similar planets as well activated in their charts. It's similar planets defining similar gates, if not the same gates, because they're born so close together in the same year, just a few months apart. So with Andrew Ridgeley, we have the 6124, which connects the ajna and the head. Then we have the 3313 and the 317 that both connect the G center to the throat. And then we have the 4426 that connects the spleen to the ego center. So we have a triple split person in being here. And we have a split person on the other side. So as you can see, George Michael is kind of like, if you want to call it that way, he's to bridge his split, he needs the 7th gate, and Andrew Ridgeley is providing that to him. Whereas George Michael is providing the 2551 channel to bridge the split towards his G center, his way of being. But they're together not bridging the split towards the head center. So they're still creating a split definition together. But it's a very, very interesting one. Because, first of all, for Andrew Ridgeley, you can see that he's either a splenic projector, or if you change the time a little bit, he does become an emotional projector with the root defined with a 1949 channel. And he also changes his profile potentially. And even if you would go higher up or down the day, other things may turn out as well. But the first thing that came into my mind when I saw the picture of Andrew Ridgeley was projector. For me, this was the first thing. I don't know why. It may be, I have a feeling there is a certain body type to projectors. And if you look at Ariana Grande as well, which we talked about just before hitting the record button, I feel like they do look pretty similar. And I'm going to show you a picture of what he looks like now.
Tay-Tay Swift is also a projector. She's a 2-4.
Interesting. If you're looking at the screen, you can see what I mean. Maybe. But he looks...
That's what he looks like now?
Face, yeah.
Do you feel like you look like him?
No,
being a projector?
No, it's I also don't have that kind of slim body type like Ariana Grande or him, but I do feel like we have a certain way. I don't know how to describe it. It's not like a projector. I feel like is highly unlikely to be a bodybuilder type statue. It could be. I could be wrong, but I've just started to see this more and more, and yeah, I'm sure there are also bodybuilder projectors out there. You're
gonna get hate in the comments right now.
Exactly. That's just a little observation that maybe
a Miko theory. Love it.
Exactly. We're going to get back to the notes in a little bit. No, I'm joking. So, back to their charts together. We can see, as I said, we can see that there is a split definition that has been created. We can see as well that both of them have the 64th gate, which is a lot about imagination, and it is more in the creative abstract circuitry instead of the logical circuitry. However, they do have the 63-4 channel that is defined, and that is connecting the logical side. This is an electromagnetic connection that they are sharing, that they're creating together. It is a very head-centered connection that they have, but in the whole connection chart, you will see that there's a lot of creativity in there as well. There is a lot of marketing potential, as we could also see. There is also some areas where George Michael is creating detriment in Andrew Ridgeley, which is an interesting part, I feel like, to consider when we're looking at the dominance within the group. That George Michael was the one that was so, the front man, because normally with the 31-7 channel that Andrew has, where he is the dominant part in this, he should be the leader of this group if you're looking at the potential within him. However, Andrew is, as I said, being pulled into Detriment by George Michael, and George Michael is being pulled by Andrew into Exaltation in certain areas, which I also found interesting. When we're looking at the parts that they share in common, we can see the 64th gate, we can see the 56th gate as well, which is about storytelling, and that's probably coming out in their lyrics. Did they write their own lyrics? Did you look into that part?
So George Michael was the primary lyricist for Wham, and Andrew co-wrote a couple of songs, but it was mostly George.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting insight to have. When looking at the storytelling, the 56, there's an expression that could lead to that, but it's in both of their north nodes. So this is something that usually comes into play later down the line, so after 40s approximately. But we also have the first line, and here you can see, if you're watching, that they both share this in Neptune. However, Andrew is sharing it in the conscious Neptune, and George Michael is sharing it in the unconscious Neptune. There are also other areas where you can have this creative inputs. It can also be due to George Michael's heavy activation in the emotional solar plexus, where he's able to express his emotions more consistently than Andrew. Even if Andrew is an emotional projector connected with a 1949, he would still not have this connection towards the throat. George Michael has this dominance in the 35-36, which is also defined through his conscious Mercury. And the conscious Mercury, it's being directly connected to the throat, and then having this power to express your emotions. I think that's where a lot of his lyrics came from. Sharing things like Last Christmas, for example. And also with this shocking side to him, I feel, as well. So the 25th is on the other side of his Mercury, his unconscious Mercury, the 25-3, both in third lines. They have a lot of third lines activations, both of them together. And George Michael leans more towards the 6 lines in his overall gates. If you look at the amount of 6-lined activations that George Michael has, and Andrew, then George dominates in that aspect. But generally there are a lot of third lines in their chart where it's all about them experimenting, making and breaking bonds, bumping into life, experiencing it hands-on to learn from the mistakes and to then move on. And I think, the first gate is also a very heavy influence in both of their chart. It's not so often defined, but I think for this creative process of it being defined through Neptune, that was also a part of their creative process, along with the 515 electromagnetic that they have, which is bringing this natural rhythm to the forefront of the band, and also the 4426 channel, which is the marketing channel, where Andrew would be dominating. So he may have been the one that was more clear on suggesting which direction to go into, also with the leadership channel fully defined 31-7. If he was called into this position, I don't know how the behind the scenes looked like. And maybe we definitely just saw a part of it. We always only see a part of the life of celebrities whenever they're in the limelight, and the other half is just hidden behind closed doors. But I find it also interesting that they are both, together, they're 9-0, nowhere to go. There must have really been this dynamic of mutual understanding in a lot of areas. Maybe there was, if Andrew was not emotionally defined, then George Michael was the one that was a bit more emotional in certain areas than Andrew. And there could have been tension if they didn't understand that from time to time, where Andrew was the one that looked and felt more dramatic in certain aspects, when actually it was George Michael that was going through a few things. It's always interesting to look at the human design chart and kind of just think about how certain things may have played out. Another point that I wanted to point out here was the 59th gate. So they both have Uranus in the 59th gate. Andrew Ridgeley has it 59.5, both conscious and unconscious, and George Michael has it in his unconscious and conscious Uranus. However, the conscious one is 59.3 and the unconscious one is 59.2. The 59th gate is in detriment in Andrew, and the 59th gate has a lot to do with breaking down walls, but also it's part of the channel that leads to birthing new projects and also being a very attractive individual. And Andrew is actually exalting this in George Michael. So I feel like this may have also been a disbalance that was created in the image of both of them. So George Michael next to Andrew may have always had more of a sex appeal than Andrew Ridgeley, if you would look at them next to one another. And I'm not talking about looks, because everyone has a different type of person that they like. And yes, George Michael, as I had mentioned at the beginning, was someone that a lot of women were very much into. It's probably the hair. But no, there are other nice features about him too. But yeah, this aspect, when it came to Detriment and Exaltation, I found that very interesting. Yeah, that's a little bit about this. Of course, the dynamic of experiencing new things, that was a heavy theme in their relationship. Do you have anything that you see at the moment that you would like to add to this?
I have a weird fact. So he passed on Christmas Day in 2016 of a heart issue, which I think is, I'm getting the chills saying it, which is like weirdly ironic, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, with Last Christmas being such a hit.
I gave you my heart.
The very next day, yeah.
Oh my God.
Right?
I got goosebumps everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's heavy. That was George Michael?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Andrew Ridgeley is still alive?
He is still alive.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was a chilling fact. Anything else you would like to add from the human design perspective?
I think this is really cool to see the dynamic, and especially in this instance, the exaltation and the detriment. I think that that's a really unique thing. We've mentioned it on a couple of episodes before, but I think seeing it potentially play into the dynamic that they have and the perception that they had externally, I think is very interesting.
Yeah, I always find that super fascinating, how when you choose to be with someone, and that is not being with someone in a relationship, it is being with someone in any kind of relationship. That is business, that is private, that is whichever form the relationship may take. You become this third person. And I'm just talking about a one-on-one relationship, because when you're three people, you're automatically turning into a penta, which is yet another dynamic. But this fact that you being with someone, and in this case they were together a lot because they were touring together a lot, they were on stage, they were just constantly together. I think at least that's how I imagine life to be if you are a band, a group, if it's two people or more, but that you're together a lot. And people are starting to perceive this third person. So when you're looking at a chart of two people coming together, wherever you see dominance, these are the areas that can be recognized in the other person, whether they are in this couple, in this case, or not. Because this is where they dominate. This is them in a pure form. But as soon as there is compromise, so when one person dominates and the other person only has a gate, or as soon as there is an electromagnetic connection, or even, the friendship connection still would remain the same because it would be two dominance channels. But as soon as there is a compromise or electromagnetic, people perceive you differently. And in the electromagnetic one, I say that again, because we do say that a lot, but I think it's an important point to make that when you're in an electromagnetic connection, it can be love and hate. So it can either go into one direction, it can go into the other. It often starts out with sparks and you love that about the other person, even in a non-romantic way. But at some point that may get on your nerves, depending how close you are and which circuitry it's running. So there are many, and which gates are defining this connection, which planets are defining this connection. All of that plays a role when you're looking at a connections chart. Yeah, I feel like this would have been probably a highly creative couple, and I'm talking non-romantically. I don't know what happened behind closed doors, but as a band, I'm speaking. So this would have been a highly creative duo who's able to market themselves, but they do need more than just this marketing channel to do that. So as you can see here in the Penta, they do need a few more gates to bring this whole thing together, especially the second gate is missing. So they do need a driver, a driving force to bring them forward, to move them forward. They also need the eighth gate, which is the gate about promoting this creative aspect of the band. So if you don't have anyone that's promoting you, this ship is going nowhere. So yeah, it must have been a very, very intense, very interesting connection. And as we can see from their music, I mean, it's lasting until today. And it will last a very long time.
Can we hum an outro of Last Christmas, or is that still copywritten?
No, that's fair.
I don't know if I can do that.
See, now please guys, go to YouTube and Google Last Christmas and enjoy. And if you're watching this in the summer, still go do it. Another good one.
Ciao guys.
Bye everyone.